So, today we take a quick deep dive into the standard banner on release gacha pool, so you know who to get from the SSR selector, just in general, or if you're an absolute madman, by re-rolling. But keep in mind that the following is only going to cover their usefulness when it comes to PvE, as I'm truly lacking in skill for now when it comes to the crazy little brother. So if you have any different opinions on any of my takes, feel free to share it with me in the comments down below, and with all of that now out of the way, let's jump right into ranking some TOF weapons. Okay, I lied. First join the Discord and maybe even the guild if you're interested in some EU server goodness. But now we can finally for real look at all the Rs, which is also the lowest possible rarity. And yes, they're also pretty garbage, with one, let's call it, hidden exception, which is the fire bow. And don't go crazy yet, this is an actual combat comparable to a plunger when it comes to viability, but it does have its uses for exploration, as having a fire weapon on hand is almost mandatory if you don't want to constantly switch between sets, and trust me, you don't. But regardless of that, all our weapons including the bow are E tier and should be switched out for literally anything else ASAP. Which brings us to our purple friends, the SRs. These are usable but also nothing special, with maybe 1 to 2 odd cases that we're going to go over last in the segment. But the one I wanna look at first is the gacha weapon everyone is going to encounter first in their Tower of Life, Echo's Spear. This is a thunder weapon that has an incredibly flashy ultimate animation that makes you feel like Zeus, the father of the Olymp, for about 2 seconds until you realize you approximately hit as hard as a rubber ball. So this weapon is fine for the beginning, but when you enter mid-game it probably already overstayed its welcome. Thus, it belongs in the trash, D tier. Similar to Hilda's railgun thing. Or maybe Bastion from Overwatch? I don't know, but this weapon is not really that great, and its main function is going to be very close to that of the fire bow, aka just using it to get the rolls hidden behind magma. That's it. If you don't have anything else for the time being, it can be fun, but it also makes this game feel more like a bad round of Call of Duty instead of an actual anime MMORPG. So once again, D tier. And when it comes to our next candidate, I don't really have much to say. Pepper's Staff. This is quite simply the only low rarity healing option, making it automatically the best weapon so far, but it's by no means great, as that's the only thing it does. Healing. So what can I say? Top of D tier for being at least viable for healers that are balling on a budget. And speaking of budget, if you are in need of a okay range DPS support type weapon that might or might not also deal physical damage, boy oh boy do I have a deal for you. Because Link's bow is completely free. At least the first copy, as you only have to beat the incredibly uneventful tournament arc of the first story chapter to win this grand prize. Which is actually not too shabby, but you will need at least a lot of duplicates to make her somewhat viable. Because if you have her maxed, she provides a pretty nice 30% crit rate and 50% crit damage buff against grievous targets. So hey, at base it's the best cheap ranged weapon, and at max a copium damage support. But in the end she's still physical, which is by far the worst element for a good while, and also still a 4-star. So C tier. Which she coincidentally shares with her last 4-star companion, the queen of cheesing, Anna's Hammer. And while her design looks very suspicious, her bonk utensil is a trusty partner when it comes to dealing way too much damage for a cheap DPS tank weapon. But hold on, there's a huge problem, which is the hammer itself. Because if you've ever played games like, for example, Monster Hunter, you know how slow these things are. And it's not any different in TOF. So this bad boy might fit a lot of damage in it, and even some stuns with some duplicates, but is overall a very clunky to play, but still somewhat viable cheesing option. So C tier it is. But we're not actually quite done yet with the literal mid part of the TOF cast, as there's a SSR that's sadly not too great when it comes to, well, everything. And that's the poster cat girl of Tower of Catnipsy, Shiro and her hula hoop ring of death. First things first, Shiro might look like she's S tier if you're into drills, or tight bodysuits, or cat girls, but she's sadly a fake one, and all of this only applies to her visual design, as her ring toy might look deadly at first glance, but does as much of a good job at cutting things as that rusty knife your grandpa forgot in the shed 20 years ago. Which doesn't mean she's bad, she's just only okay. Her weapon being ranged and a decent shield shredder definitely helps, but her skill is just awkward to use, as it's something you need to place down while being close to enemies, even though this is supposed to be a ranged weapon, and her discharge aka ultimate is just not something you would even want to use, like, ever. So sadly, this is a very mediocre weapon that is only saved by throwing lots of expensive treats at her, and even then you were probably just overdosing on copium. Thus, our fake cat girl is making herself comfortable at the top of the C tier. Unlike the newest iteration of Megumin, that now wields a fiery shield instead of her trusty staff. But that's honestly kinda too boring, so when you feel like it, it can also Transformer style morph into a battle axe on fire. And as cool as that sounds, fire is not exactly how I would describe her, even though she is literally fire. Because she's a tank. Her main deal is the usual MMO tank routine: taunt, occasionally stun, and burn them all. Yeah. While she is a tank, she does surprisingly okay damage and also brings decent shield breaking capabilities with her. Problem here is, tanks are in general not the best in this game unless your name starts with M and ends with Arc. Mark might not even come to global, so hey, if you want to be the tank, Huma is probably the best choice, but you might wanna pick at least one duplicate. Meaning the shield hero's battle axe shield is B tier for now. And now we come to a somewhat, let's say, potentially weird choice. And that's Coco Ritter's staff. She is, to say it outright, Pepper's SSR upgrade, meaning she just simply heals and can also, thanks to her ice element, freeze. But that's it. At least that's the case for 0 stars, cause with some of them she at least brings some more utility into the team, but you don't really want to buy dupes of her unless you're a healer main. And, do these even exist? So yeah, she's the quote-unquote best healer in TOF for now, at least at 0 star, aka B tier for the Coco Melon channel star. And because it's so hot right now, at least where I live, I think we should continue to stay on the frosty side. So let's next chat about Meryl's greatsword. Well, it's a great sword. Okay, fine, don't click off. Because Meryl is pretty decent. She's the second tank when it comes to on-release SSRs and boasts fairly impressive shield breaking capabilities. But you know what? It's rewind time. If you've ever played games like, for example, Monster Hunter, you know how slow these things are. Yes, the same thing applies here. It's a heavy, clunky weapon which is emphasized even further by her skill literally keeping you in place for its whole duration, making it, despite being a great damage outlet, shield breaker, and most importantly air dance performance, somewhat iffy. And you can multiply everything I just said 10 times for her ultimate, as this is the definition of clunky. Imagine spawning a barrier of ice around you and the boss, which is good, you want to tank after all. But now imagine being the DPS on the team, that is now also in this ring together with the tank and the boss. That's now going to totally destroy you as the Meryl user backstabbed you and switched over to the enemy's side, apparently. So yeah, while this is pretty cool, in the most literal sense of the word, unless you have some stars on the weapon to give you more self-sustain, plus manage to not take all of your teammates down with your ultimate, this is a pretty decent tank weapon. So B tier alongside Huma it is. Which means it's now time to get to what all of you have been waiting for. Except the few that just skipped to this part. Yes, I see you in front of the screen. But fine, I will give you what you want, what you really want. And also something you probably didn't expect. Zero's Rubik's Cube. This is not only something that's hard to solve blindfolded, or if you're like me, a normal human being, also just in general, but also the second SSR healer, is what I would have liked to say, but sadly it was just not meant to be, unless you sacrifice some of your sanity to grab a Zero dupe, because that now finally turns him into a spelling bee. No, makes him a real dispelling bee expert, because that's his second function in life, AFK farm gold by bullying even more bees. And while that is quite funny and might reduce the lifespan of your PC, his main role is protecting the whales, aka your not so trusty guildmates from hopefully the SyNo guild. Join my Discord and join the guild, link in the description. Because he not only gains the ability to be a real boy and healer at 1 star, but also at base produces some decent shields, so that's cool. If you have 1 star Zero, he's probably the best healer shielder you're gonna get, so run him, he's good. That's all I have to say. Also his 3-star art makes him look like some Deadman Wonderland shonen protagonist mashup. Anyway, next off is Crow, or how all the Nihongo Jozu people call him, Karasuma.
Nihongo Jozu,
aka the Thunder SSR dagger. This is the Naruto fans' wet dream, as the playstyle of the not so shuriken revolves around edginess, betray, and backstabbing, literally. Ideally, you would want some stars to make his DPS go even higher, and in the best case, to the moon. But that's not really the real problem with this weapon, because that's actually you. And I'm not even joking, as this also applies to me. If you're, let's say, lacking in skill, Crow might not be the DPS for you, as to get the most out of him, you have to get down things like the air backstab jump playstyle, and tech moves like the jetpack annihilator fist of heavenly glory. Down to a T. And yes, that's the official trademark name of this move. Don't look it up. All in all, Crow's daggers are good, but expensive to play and hard to master, justifying only A tier. Which now brings us to the cream of the crop. The tower to the fantasy, the green dollar to the Hotta Studio, and the Hane to the Tsubasa, cause that's our next weapon. The SSR Ice Bow, that belongs to Hane or Tsubasa. I have no idea what her name really is, but let's call her Bow Girl and Skimpy Schoolgirl outfit. And damn, this weapon is pretty good. It provides incredibly high charging, can freeze thanks to the ice element, and at 1/6 star gains incredibly valuable general damage buffs that can reach up to 15% for all of your team. Problem is, her main gameplay style might not be for everyone because it just looks like this, and her main utility is locked behind at least 1 star. But she's out of the release cards, by far one of the premier choices to max over time, as you can just simply start throwing this into every team as a solid damage buffer. And the best part is, it's still gonna be at least decent to good in more than half a year. So overall, it's a great investment and good weapon choice in general. And now, let me ask you one question. How many kings do you know?
Are you challenging me?
Maybe a king of rap, maybe the king of England, perhaps even the king of kings. King. Who can only be described as the incredibly edgy love child between a very drunk Dante from Persona 3 and Dillac from Genshin Impact, and replace the last part with FF7's Sephiroth when talking about his A3 art. Yes, that's right, this is the poster boy of TOF and every edgelord's wildest dream, and while his drip might be lacking, his scythe is hitting the right spot. This offers high shield break, good damage and wide area coverage, making this weapon perfect in enemy wave scenarios, but you really should pick up at least his first copy that makes him truly the king of breaking shields thanks to even more shatter and some nasty dots. What can I say? It should be no surprise that King is the king of TOF for now, because in a fast approaching future he might be dethroned faster than you can blink, making him on one hand a really strong shatter and DPS option for now, but only average to okay later down the line. So at max, get 2 copies of him and enjoy being the king of PvP while you still can. But that's not that easy to achieve, because scythes are nice, but you know what's even better? Ranged weapons with even more deep PS. Samir's double gun. Just wow. Tasteful outfit, high knee socks and oh yeah, the weapon. These double guns do not only look impressive, but also shoot faster than any American in case of trespassing, which is very fast, bringing high DPS and charge to the table, with for a ranged weapon surprisingly wide coverage, and the best part is, the weapon is still amazing even without duplicates, making it by far the prime DPS choice for every free-to-play enjoyer and soon-to-be DPS spin one trick. The only thing I can even critique here is that her gameplay style is, let's call it unique. Did you ever play Beyblade? Or Garen in League? Yeah. When you're using the double Glocks, it's time to spin. For days, weeks, months, or even years. Because I'm sure not stopping till you join the Discord. Link in the description. But regardless of that whole spin to win strategy, there's actually one more thing I want to bring up. And that's the fact that Samir is by far the most viable weapon option out of all of these to date in the CN server that's already been running for months. And keep in mind, we might not even get the potentially best Thunder DPS they have over there, making Samir the real king of budget when thinking long term. You can spin to win now, and you can do it in like 6 months and it's still top tier. What is there to hate? If you care about meta and like the Thunder element, just grab your Samir and maybe even the single best edition when it comes to a true shocking team. The now confirmed first limited for global Nemesis with her space blaster guns or whatever. She's the single best character. when it comes to electrode teams, as she's the only character on release boasting the powerful element resonance passive that you are going to see for every other element someday. But till then, female Zeus and the Olymp are most likely going to dominate the PvE meta. Of course, it's not actually that easy, because Nemesis wants at least one duplicate. Okay, maybe two, fine, let's say 6. What I'm trying to say is, unless you coincidentally are the unresponsible heir of some hedge fund manager called Balan Mozos, Nemesis is most likely just going to stay a kind of bare bones support. But if you manage to somehow offer your soul to the Gacha gods to in return gather 2 whole copies, she's actually a pretty good healer. But considering just how powerful the Samir Nemesis comp is going to be for, let's say, the next 2 months maybe, she's also going to die right next to her for now. But that was it. I hope you enjoyed this quick breakdown and tier list of all characters. Make sure to like and sub and join the Discord, and if you want an EU guild, I'm also here for you. Also leave me in the comments what you want to see next, and before I forget, a huge shout out to all of my channel members and an extra huge one to Asfi. That was all from me, and I will see you next time.